Good morning, and thank you for joining us. This is the Finance Committee regular meeting, and today is Monday, February 24th, and we will start this meeting. We'll start with public comment. Is there anyone here? Seeing none, we'll move on to regular business, and our first item is to approve the minutes from the February 11th regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is the fiscal year 2024-2025 mid-year budget amendment considerations with a presentation by Member Alma Collado.
Hi, included in your packet are year-to-date revenue and expenditure numbers for 24-25 fiscal year. And part of our review for the first 6 months, we examined line items that need adjustments, action taken and approved by City Council. We only have 6 amendments in the mid-year budget consideration, each taking place in the General Fund, Senior Center, Enterprise Fund, Measure E, and street projects. We can go over the adjustments. The first one is to make the salaries for council department to reflect the actual cost for compensation. We have a project that was not included in our initial budget for frontage road that affects the expenses and the revenue. We have 2 amendments for that project. We have impact fees, anticipated total expenses of $185,000, and we're proposing to increase it to $377,000 for the park improvement that is around the track 6122. We have a small fee that was not included in our budget for the water improvement loan that just to make our numbers closer to actual, and just the Measure E fund revenue that was not included in the budget due to the police vehicles that were in the accident and were total loss. We got reimbursed from the insurance. So we are proposing 6 amendments for the mid-year consideration, and there's a typo on the report that we have 7. We deleted 1 last minute that we decided to wait until the end of the fiscal year to bring it into the Finance Committee. So that recommended action by this Finance Committee is to review the amendments and to recommend the necessary budget adjustments to City Council.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or comments? What park is that you said track 6122 that we're increasing?
That's the so it's the Crinclaw phase. So it's parts like 3 and 4
Okay.
that are there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's some of our contribution to those improvements.
Very good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? Or can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And moving on to item number 3, the Measure E 1% public safety sales tax extension discussion. Presentation by Member Alexander Henderson.
Yes, Chairperson Smith and members of the committee. If you recall, on June 5th, 2018, Kingsburg voters enacted Measure E, which is a 1% public safety sales tax that supports ongoing allowed efforts. It passed after receiving 72% support. It required 66% because it is a specific transaction and use tax. This type of tax, or this measure, went into effect on October 1st, 2018 for a period of 10 years as outlined in the original ballot language, and unless it is extended, Measure E will expire on September 30th of 2028. Initially, conservative estimates forecasted that Measure E would generate roughly $1 million annually, but fortunately receipts have exceeded those estimates by more than double since the first full year of inception. For fiscal year 25, revenues are estimated to be approximately $2.6 million. Since inception, the city has received a little over $14 million in cash receipts to date. And there's an attachment 1 shows the annual amounts that we've received. Consistent with the measure's initial intent, Measure E revenue has been used solely for activities related to public safety. I've included a non-exhaustive list of examples of expenditures intended to illustrate the use of funding since inception. So those include a number of equipment upgrades, but perhaps most importantly, significant personnel in both police and fire are associated with the measure. Given the importance of the measure, staff believes it's appropriate to begin discussing the renewal effort, which could be placed on the following future ballots, which includes June 2nd, 2026, which is the California primary, November 3rd, 2026 is the U.S. midterm election, and then March 7th, 2028 is the presidential primary election. Staff believes we should pick one of the dates in 2026 and use the 2028 date as a potential fallback should one of the first ones be unsuccessful. The first 2 dates, purpose of this discussion is to kind of start talking about what our preference is. I think there are pros and cons to either of them, but there obviously are specific deadlines that we need to meet depending upon which one we do choose. We have solicited for legal quotes that will assist with putting ballot language together, updating the ordinance, the resolution that we have to file, and then assisting us with other issues that council may have or staff may have as it relates to the actual measure. We would like to talk a little bit about, again, the preferred election cycle, the discussion on other outside consultants, which might include marketing as well. So the first time that we did this, we had outside consultants for legal to assist us with that, but we didn't use anyone for marketing or education. And then the general parameters of the renewal. So the first time around there was a sunset clause of 10 years. So whether or not we want to explore a similar clause or a longer one, or removing the sunset clause altogether. And then just the transaction and use tax versus a general tax. Obviously the first time that was the 2/3 vote that was required. So we're seeking input from this group to establish a team that will assist with the renewal effort, which will allow for establishing a timeline for deliverables, community input and education, as well as establishing a budget that will coincide with the fiscal year 2026 budget. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm just looking for a little bit of discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we able to use Measure E dollars towards the renewal efforts?
I'm not sure, so it's a question I'm going to ask the legal team, but it's something I'm not sure about either.
Most likely to pass at a primary or midterm? I know there's lots of studies on that. Just historically, what does that show?
So when we were talking with consultants a little bit about a different measure when we were kind of looking at the sports complex, they indicated that primaries tend to have a more conservative smaller voter group. So they tend to be the group that votes consistently. And then, if you're at a midterm or a presidential, in November usually, there's a larger turnout. And so it just kind of depends a little bit upon your electorate. I know when we did this the first time, it was in June. And again, I think, depending upon what the measure is asking, I think that they would usually say that if you go during a presidential, it tends to skew a little bit more tax friendly because there's less conservative voters. but I think,
That's kind of our parachute plan, though, isn't it?
yeah,
That's all right.
I think this measure is, because it's for public safety, may speak more to, both conservative and, liberal voters.
Do we know other tax measures that are coming up?
So so obviously the high school just had their measure renewed, so I'm talk to them, haven't connected with them yet, I don't know if they have anything in 2026. The elementary district says that they do not have anything for 2026, so they might be looking at something in 2028, but are not taking anything in 26.
Measure C, that'll be on 26 though?
It will, but that'll be in November.
Okay.
And I think, if we decide on the June 2026, most of the information, I would suggest, there are some deadlines that leak into the new year, but I would suggest that we would probably have most of our end of it on the legal side wrapped up by the end of this calendar year. So just trying to get our filings in and, making sure we're set there, and then it just becomes and we'll have some discussion about that, because as soon as the council passes the resolution placing it on the ballot, that starts the clock for you cannot use city resources to be for or against the measure. So you can use local resources to put out information. So, if the council chose to put out information just about what the measure has done, but it doesn't say anything on it like, yes on E, or it has to have language that, basically you have your legal consultant confirm that it's
That's just a lot of get out and vote.
allowable, yeah.
Type stuff.
Yes. But, anytime you see, obviously locally here, we have the high school have theirs, and if you got any of their information that said yes on their measure, all that is put together by a political action committee that would have been by their school district, by their boosters or something like that, not actually by the district.
Okay.
I'm supportive of June, but
Yeah, I would prefer June, especially with Measure C. I don't think we need to be competing with
and I
that
think it
one.
just gives us, if it does fail, it gives us more opportunities in the future. I think we need to take our shot at it. I do support a sunset clause on it. I think that makes it more palatable for people, and emphasizing the citizen oversight committee is big. I would like to get some sort of a report back or something from that oversight committee, just to see how it's gone, their opinion of it. I want to encourage that, the transparency of the oversight committee with the public, because it's their dollars, and I want them to understand that we've taken that seriously from the onset. I think that will help us in the future. I know that's one of the things that people had heartburn over with the school district, was it seems like they just keep renewing the check with really no accountability. So I want to make sure that we're not doing the same thing. So if we could just get those members to come, even as a public presentation for council, when this heads the council or whatever, I'd just like to get them more engaged.
Well, and I know, Chairman Smith, you can sort of speak to it too, because I think in the time that you were in between your stints on council, you sat on the committee too, right? So, or chaired it, so.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that committee. I do, and yeah, they do a good job. I think we meet once a year and receive the presentations and go over that. Yeah. So no, I would agree. I agree. I would support a sunset clause. I think it could be longer than 10 years, but I think we need one in there. And I would prefer that it's a special, not a general tax.
Yeah, I think we should, look to extend it on the same terms, at least as it relates to the special tax. And then if if we get 64% or something like that, and then we have to have a then I think maybe that becomes a discussion for a future one, but.
You said with the June, city would have to basically tap out of that for resources by the end of the year, you think?
So, I think the final date for June to get qualified on the ballot is in February, technically. I said, I think realistically we'll try and have everything pretty well buttoned up, because I think we would like to try and get the same measure name too, if we can. So, just trying to get that in front of the county quickly. And then I'll confirm with, whoever we get to assist us with the legal portion of what their recommendation is with regards to, passing that resolution, if there's a desire by the council to, hold that so that we can, basically be pro the measure. So there's a trigger that once you pass the resolution, then that's when it starts the impartiality requirement.
When you consult with them, can you also include maybe just a quick brief out for us as electeds and staff, a reminder of what we can and can't do at that point, just so it's super clear and it's publicly super clear, because we're going to have lots of people coming to us and saying, what should we do? Just something that we can all be on the same page with, because I will mess that up.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't know, it might be that you as elected officials can do things sort of separately, right? Like sort of when you're endorsing other candidates, you do that as an elected official, but maybe not as a council, right? So
yeah.
You might be able to do certain things in your capacity. It's just a matter, I think the big trigger is, we can't use Measure E dollars or general fund dollars to create, materials that are supportive or against the measure, even if there was something, something like that. So you just have to be impartial.
I'm assuming we'll have a broad overview of what we plan to do with it to go forward. Okay.
Yes, so I think it would be important to explain what we've done with the dollars since the measure was enacted, and then to, continue a similar, do something similar like we did the first time around, which is what we plan to use it for, if it gets renewed as well.
Also, what it looks like if it's not renewed.
Yeah.
We could have the chiefs report out on what they're going to do without the money.
And I had talked to somebody on the Republican National Committee, and that was why they didn't endorse the high school bond. They had no idea. There was nothing, to state what they were going forward. So it would be nice if we could try and, get that information out there so we could get additional endorsements.
Well, and I think the June timeframe, this will be after, I think city dollars could be involved, but, the associations will hopefully be involved, and they'll be able to, discuss the measure at the car show and at Swedish Festival with their booths, and so I think there will be opportunity, locally as well to get that information out there. And I know it was important the first time to explain, obviously the high school ones are property tax based, whereas ours is sales tax based, so while all the money stays here and gets used by us, tourism dollars helps pay for it. People passing through to get off and get gas or get food at one of our restaurants, they help to share that burden. So I think it's important to get that out there again as well.
So this is you're just looking for information. Is there?
Well, I think
direction
it
on
sounds
dates.
like we've got direction on dates and some of the other items, and once we establish, once we get a legal team that will bring the council to consider, then they'll help us put together all the timelines, the deadlines, and give us some additional guidance with regards to some of the questions that have been asked here today. So, but I think it's good to get started on it now, and because it'll be here quickly.
Well, and I don't think it would be a bad idea to look at what it would cost to have somebody come in and help with marketing and education. So if we could have some idea, that would be helpful.
Allow us to budget for it too.
We don't have it in our budget currently,
But we can put it in the 26, 27,
25, 26.
or 25, 26, I mean.
25,
Yeah.
And I didn't include it in the staff report. I don't, some places do polling. I think that there's probably an intent to put this on a ballot either way, regardless of the polling. So I didn't include that, but if there's desire by the committee or the council.
I have none.
I don't think it's necessary. Yeah. Okay.
It's the benefit of a small town.
You'll get polled at the grocery store.
We'll just ask. Between people at the gym and Chris, we'll get our numbers.
I'm very cognizant of being careful with taxpayer money.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any comments that you want to make on this item?
Well, I cut in late. Did you go over this chart?
I haven't yet, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Well, why is 23, 24 less? Because I've been making a concerted effort to support primarily the restaurants.
Yeah.
The last couple of years. I have a goal of 2 restaurant visits a week, and that doesn't count pizza or smoothies.
Yeah.
That is meals.
Yes.
And there's more people in town.
So specifically, those 2 years are a little bit less than the big year in 22. A couple of things. One of our biggest tax generators, both for Measure E and for our other tax, our Bradley Burns tax, is gas sales. And that's driven both by the price of gas. So when gas is higher, it brings more money in because it's percentage based. And so gas, I think, was a little bit higher then, and it has gone down a little bit. And then also people are buying less gas because there's more people converting to EVs. So there's kind of a double there with regards to fuel sales. And then just overall, I think we saw a spike in 22 specifically because there was a lot of federal government stimulus dollars that went out. And so like for Measure E specifically, we get tax dollars. Like if you go buy a new car and you register it in Kingsburg, we get that 1% sales tax. And so I think you saw a lot more sort of discretionary spending that hasn't continued at the same level. So I would say that we're probably more right sizing. It's probably coming back to more what is likely more reality versus that really high year, which I think was inflated a little bit for a few reasons. So, and then that 24-25 number is only 1 quarter, so we actually have received up to through November now. We should get December's in a couple of days here, and so those amounts it's actually a little over $1 million right now. So by the time the first 6 months is here, it should be right in the 1.3, 1.35 range, which is about half of the 2.6 that we're anticipating.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? Okay. Then I will move on to other business. No, there is no other business, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you for joining us.